Greetings to the respected faculty. I am Lasya Mandapati of AIML B section. My roll number is 24951A6686. And today I'm going to be talking about a question that has been at the heart of software development for many years. Has object oriented programming or simply OOP delivered on its promises? Let's dive in. What is object oriented programming? Let's begin by briefly reviewing what object oriented programming is. Object-oriented programming, or OOP, is a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects. These objects encapsulate both data and methods that operate on the data. The core principle of OOP includes encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. These four principles are often referred to as the pillars of OOPs. Together, these allow developers to create modular, reusable, and scalable software systems. If you look at the picture as an example, in an OOP system, you might have a car object with attributes like color and model, and behaviors like drive and park. The key idea is that a software can be modeled in a way that mirrors the real world, where each object is an instance of a class with its own properties and behaviors. The promises of OOPs. OOP promised several advantages that were revolutionary at the time of its introduction. First, reusability. Classes and objects can be reused across multiple programs, saving time and reducing redundancy. Second, modularity. Large systems can be broken into smaller, independent modules, making the code easier to manage. Third, maintainability. Because objects are self contained, changes to one object doesn't necessarily affect the entire system. Finally, the fourth, extensibility. New features can be added without disrupting existing code. If you look at the diagram, these are the promises of OOPs: reusability, maintainability, modularity, and extensibility. The vision was clear. Software development would become more efficient, scalable, and easier to maintain. But it was really deliver on these promises? The mixed successes of OOPs. While OOP has certainly delivered in many areas, it's not without its challenges. On one hand, it has been instrumental in creating large, complex systems where modularity and reusability are crucial. For instance, modern web applications such as e-commerce platforms rely heavily on OOP principles for their scalability and maintainability. On the other hand, OOP has not been a one-size-fits-all solution. In fact, it has introduced some significant challenges. For example, deep inheritance trees or deep inheritance hierarchies, where classes inherit from other classes in multiple layers. This can lead to rigid and difficult to maintain code. The more levels of inheritance, the harder it is to understand and change in the code. OOP also struggles with tight coupling when objects are too dependent on another, making changes become problematic. So it was rightly said that OP has delivered on its promises in certain areas, but not universally. Context is key. The key takeaway here is that OOP works well in some contexts, but not all. OOP is a natural fit for large scale complex applications such as enterprise software or systems with many moving parts. It excels where you need to model complex relationships between entities, such as in business applications, games, or simulation software. However, in simpler applications like small scripts or embed systems, the overhead of OOP can actually be counterproductive. These systems may benefit more from procedural programming, which is often simpler and more direct. As you can see in the diagram, OOP succeeds in Java-based e-commerce systems like Hippo and Hybris, whereas it faces challenges in embed systems and small scripts where POP often finds more success. So it was rightly said by Vic Vasili, a professor of computer science at the University of Maryland, that OOP is not the right model for all problems. Common design issues with OOP. Even in situations where OOP is a good fit, it is still important to avoid poor design practices. For example, if OOP principles are not applied correctly, systems can become more complex. One of the main issues is poor inheritance design. which can lead to deep confusing class hierarchies. Another problem is tight coupling, as we discussed before, is where objects rely too heavily on each other. This makes changes to one class break the entire system. This is a hierarchical chart where an inheritance chart where the model S, it's a model of Tesla, inherits from Tesla, and Tesla inherits from an electric car. An electric car inherits from car, which inherits from vehicles. So while OOP has its strengths, its real success depends heavily on careful design and implementation. Without good design, even OOP can lead to messy and hard to maintain code. Now, let us discuss the language debate of C++ and Java. Another impact in the success of OOP is the programming language being used. Languages like C++ can be difficult for OOP due to their complex syntax and low level nature, which requires more manual management of memory and resources. On the other hand, languages like Java are more focused on OOP principles, providing built-in features like garbage collection and automatic memory management that makes OOPs easier to implement. In fact, many of the early criticisms of OOP stem from the challenges developers faced in languages like C++. As languages evolved, however, OOPs or OOP has become more streamlined and practical. Solutions, design patterns, and better practices. One of the ways to address these challenges is through the use of design patterns. These are proven to be common problems that arise when using OOP. Patterns like, as you can see above, patterns like singleton, factory, observer, and strategy help developers apply OOP principles more effectively and avoid pitfalls like tight coupling or poor inheritance design that we have discussed above are a few challenges that OOP has faced. So it was rightly said by Vic Basili, uh, it was said by Lionel Brand, an associate professor of systems and computer engineering at Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada, that design patterns have helped has helped programmers apply OOP concepts correctly. What we know for sure now is that OOP is not a silver bullet. It works well when used appropriately, but is not always the right fit for every job. Empirical studies and evidence. Does OOP really work? Despite these challenges, OOP remains a dominant force in the software industry today. It is the foundation of many modern frameworks, tools, and platforms. From web applications to enterprise softwares, OOP continues to play a key role in the development of scalable and maintainable systems. However, procedural programming and other paradigms still have their place, especially in smaller applications or where performance is a critical concern. Research by Basili has shown that we need more empirical studies to fully understand when and why OOPS works. In modern software landscape, as you can see, the trend of using OP has significantly increased over the years as it is a dominant force in the software industry. Has OOPS really delivered? Despite these challenges, despite the challenges that it has faced, we can say that yes, OOPS has delivered, but with some cavities. OOP has provided powerful tools for building scalable, reusable, and maintainable systems, but it is not a universal solution. The success of OOP depends on good design, the right context, and the right language. And as the software industry continues to evolve, OOP will remain an important, though not always dominant tool in the developer's toolkit. If you can look at the chart above, it talks about the pros and cons of OOP. The pros include features like modularity, reusability, scalability, abstraction, and encapsulation. We can also include the key principles of OOPS like inheritance and polymorphism. On the other side, you can see cons like steep learning curve, performance and overhead, complexity for small apps, performance overhead, and increased development time. So, We can conclude that it is not a universal solution and requires careful application and good design practices. Like we've discussed in one of the slides before, context is key. So one should know when and where to use OOP and when not to. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you have a very nice day.